Imagine waking up tomorrow and the ships stop coming. No warning, no gradual slowdown, just silence across the world's busiest shipping lanes. Within days, something strange begins happening in America. Prices jump, shelves thin out, and factories quietly slow down. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't realize. If global trade freezes, the United States may feel the shock first. To understand why, we need to look at how the modern American lifestyle actually works. Nearly everything, from smartphones to sneakers to car parts, depends on a constant global flow of goods. The US is one of the world's largest importers. That means when global trade slows, America doesn't just notice, it feels it immediately. But here's where it gets surprising. America isn't weak because it lacks money. It's vulnerable because of speed and scale. The US economy runs on just-in-time logistics, a system designed for efficiency, not shock resistance. And when that system gets disrupted, the effects move fast. Think about your local store. Most major retailers only keep a few weeks of inventory on hand. Why? Because storing goods is expensive, so companies rely on constant resupply from overseas factories. If ships stop for even a short time, the countdown begins. And we've already seen a preview. In 2020 and 2021, supply chain disruptions caused everything from computer chips to furniture to suddenly spike in price. But that was just a partial slowdown. A full global trade freeze would be a different story. First comes the silent phase. Most Americans wouldn't notice anything for the first week or two. Ships already at sea would still arrive. Warehouses would still ship products. Everything would feel normal. But underneath the surface, the pipeline would already be running dry. Then comes phase 2, the squeeze. Retailers start noticing delayed shipments. Manufacturers begin waiting on missing parts. And suddenly, small gaps appear in very specific products. Not everything disappears, just the things you suddenly need. Once shortages start appearing, prices rarely stay calm for long. Retailers begin quietly adjusting numbers, first a few cents, then dollars. Imported goods get hit first, electronics, clothing, appliances. But the real pressure builds when businesses start competing for fewer shipments. That's when inflation doesn't just rise, it accelerates. And most Americans don't notice the pattern until it's already everywhere. Next comes one of America's most sensitive sectors, the auto industry. Modern vehicles rely on thousands of globally sourced parts. One missing microchip, one delayed component, and entire assembly lines slow down. This isn't theoretical. We've seen factories pause production before. But in a full trade disruption, the slowdown spreads faster and lasts longer. Then the ripple reaches energy. Even though the US produces large amounts of oil and gas, the global energy market is deeply interconnected. Shipping disruptions can raise transportation costs worldwide, and fuel prices often follow. Higher fuel costs don't just affect drivers. They quietly increase the price of moving everything else. As supply problems drag on, businesses begin making harder decisions. When factories slow and retailers can't restock, hiring freezes often come first, then reduced hours. In more severe cases, layoffs. The job market doesn't collapse overnight. It tightens quietly, one sector at a time, until the pressure becomes visible in the data. But here's where economics turns psychological. Inflation isn't just about numbers, it's about expectations. When people believe prices will keep rising, behavior changes. Businesses raise prices faster, consumers buy sooner, and that feedback loop can push inflation higher, even if the original shortage starts easing. If uncertainty grows, something else can happen: panic buying. We've seen it before. Shelves emptying not just because of shortages, but because of fear. The modern supply chain is efficient, but it's not built for sudden surges in demand. And once panic starts, it can temporarily create the very shortages people fear. At this stage, government agencies typically step in, monitoring ports, coordinating logistics, and sometimes releasing strategic reserves.
These actions can stabilize markets, but they rarely fix the root problem quickly, because global trade networks are massive, complex systems, and complex systems don't restart instantly.
So why might the US feel the shock faster than some countries? Because the American economy is heavily consumption-driven. It moves enormous volumes of imported goods every single day. That scale is powerful in normal times, but during disruptions, it can make the system more sensitive to sudden breaks.
And the story doesn't stop at US borders. Global trade is deeply interconnected. When one major economy slows its imports, exporters overseas feel it. Their factories slow, their workers feel pressure, and the slowdown can loop back across the system, creating a true economic domino effect. What these moments reveal is something economists have warned about for years. Modern supply chains are incredibly efficient, but not always resilient. They're optimized for speed, cost, and precision, not for sudden global shocks. And the more optimized a system becomes, the less margin for error it sometimes has.
Now, to be clear, global trade doesn't just switch off overnight. The system is enormous and surprisingly durable, but history shows it doesn't take a full collapse to create serious disruption. Sometimes all it takes is the wrong disruption in the wrong place at the wrong time. The modern American economy is one of the most powerful systems ever built, but like all complex systems, its strength depends on constant motion, ships moving, parts flowing, shelves restocking. When that motion slows, even slightly, the effects can travel farther and faster than most people expect.
Global trade doesn't have to collapse to cause serious problems. It just has to slow down at the wrong moment. And in a world built on speed, efficiency, and constant motion, even small disruptions can travel shockingly fast. The real question isn't whether the system works, it's how fragile it might already be. If you enjoy understanding the world clearly, subscribe. You belong here.